Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Backpacktrader training room for Tuesday, February 1st. All right, YM's gone too far, so we'll be looking for a new setup there. Same for soybeans. Crude oil cranked up quickly this morning. No trade on that down move, but then the up move pick up a long that hits targets 1 and 2 and trails up just beyond target 2. So a nice one and done winner on crude this morning. Good morning to you, Miles. Unleaded did catch a short on the way down, but it was too early. It was about 10 minutes till our start time. It was 8:50, but also picked up a strong trade on the up move, target 2 and a trailer up at trailing all the way up to target 3. So very successful on the energies this morning. And markets just opened and the YM came down and got short, looks like. And well, no way to get that. The bar was only 1 second and it hit money management, so that's not tradable. Soybean stopped out of its early trade, so that is done. Pound Aussie was in this short trade. This long was a little early, and it was a get in sync. This bar went down and touched the entry. I didn't get filled. I had my entry at 3 pips. Was using 3 pips for spread, and it didn't fill me when it went 1 tick below the entry. So not just unlucky. That's when you just assume that didn't fill. And then unfortunately the short following that took a full loss. Looks like lots of bars on the Russell. Yeah, in only 5 seconds. I don't know, that third bar looks like it probably would have given you a chance to get in. Yeah, the third bar would have gotten into that short and been take target 3 and trail, and it's doing quite nicely on the micro Russell using that custom Renko bar and just stopping out. That chart is the evening trade plan. That plan, I believe, uses targets 3, 4, fixed, and trail. Still no trades after that quick short. Actually, Yeah, there was no way to get into that short. From the initial setup of the first trade that got replaced, it was just 2 seconds until it hit money management. So definitely no way to get into that trade. Yep, definitely should be, Randy. Good morning, Pamela. There's our first trade on the YM. We have a long. And hitting target 1, that was a 29 tick target. Stop now at 35024. And is it going to try to go up again? Or yeah, looks like it. Looks like it survived. 35034 for the stop now. 039. These trade plan setting now. What platform are you running? RNAF. I'm assuming that's correct pronunciation. Excuse me if I butchered it. If you're trading the Russell and taking multiple trades, there's 2 more successful trades. Both of them getting to target 3. The first one getting a very small trailer. The second one trailing now, and looks like it stops out again with a very small trailer. Okay, I'm using the Unirenko bars to basically mimic the TradeStation custom Renko. So what I'm using, look at the data series for the Renko bar. Tick trend is 5. Open offset is 10. That produces a 15 tick brick size. And tick reversal is 25, which is the offset plus the 15 tick brick size. And that will give you the corresponding Renko bar to the 1.5 point custom Renko bar that Troy's been showing on TradeStation. The trade plan will be on the owner's site. This is the version 1 evening trade plan that I have the settings on set for. And Unirenko can just do a Google search. For Unirenko, and you will. It's a free bar type, free programmed bar type. And that should work fine with the automation. The automation is best. Its best use is for back testing. Okay. you can certainly use it to take trades, but I would definitely be monitoring it rather than leaving it unattended, because many things can happen. All right. Wow. Okay, so here's our first soybeans trade. It's a long, and that does quite nicely. All three targets and trailing up to 15, 13, 25. So a big one and done trade on soybeans today. Exactly. While it can certainly do well with that, it can also do things that you don't expect and lose money unattended as well, unintentionally. All right, YM went one and done on the long, and it's had a successful short and in a second short there, but neither of those are trade plan trades, having finished up on the long. Soybeans is one and done. Unleaded crude 9 a.m. mini session is one and done. Russell Catapult using the Renko bars did quite well this morning. So Pound Aussie's still looking for another trade. Let's see, what do we look at here? Everything. All right, let's take a look at unleaded on Catapult. That's an 8:45 start. So that is right in. Okay, right on that bar. So the long is off the table. Then we pick up the short immediately after, and that's that big short move. That's a one and done on unleaded on Catapult. I would definitely get out of the way on that, but I imagine based on what I saw on no trades coming back up until we get up here, and I would leave that alone at that point, in the no man's land between the 50 and the 200 after that big initial move. I'll leave that alone. All right. Well, let's see. What else do we look at? Here's the micro ES 5-minute chart. Its exchange time is Central Time, so, and I'm showing Eastern, so beware there. There is a setup at the open, but it's already triggered in and stopped out at 9:35, which would be 8:35 Central. So that's a no trade and looking for a new setup. Well, let's take a look at heating oil. Catapult 20-tick range bar. Starting at 9:30. Our first trade is a break-even long. Second trade is a long that no trigger on the second long. Third trade is another break-even on the short. And finally, we get a long that goes to fixed target and still is at break even, and about, if it survives here and heating oil goes back up, it's going to start trailing. Wow, big bar, and looks like heating oil stopped out for the one tick on the trailing position. So you have two break evens, fixed target, and a fixed target. I think I would, and it looks a little noisy, I think I would stand down at this point on heating oil. It's not a part of a specific part of NinjaTrader. It is a custom programmed. It's a NinjaScript add-on bar type, and you will have to download that. It's a free download. That's why I say Google it, and you can find where to get where to download it from. There are a couple of places to get it. One where I got it, and we're back down to the session open after being at session high on the ES. The YM now has a long just below. Wouldn't want to be in that. I'm glad we're not trading that right now. That's just below the 200 EMA. 200 is likely to provide some resistance coming back up like that. And there is a short trade off of the 200. That magenta trade right here. You would install the Renko bars just like you install the NinjaScript add-ons for the catapult, and then it will just give you the additional Renko bar type when you go into your data series to set up a new chart or to change the bar type on your charts. But once you install it, it's going to be there until you get ready until you move to a new machine and need to install NinjaTrader again. I put the spelling of it in the chat. That's why I put that in the chat, so you can use that as a search term. Here's some information on the. There's where I downloaded it from. That they'll require you to register, and they give you a code to get it for free. They say it has a $50 price tag, but that's the one that I've used. And there's also 4 more here, 5 different options. The first 2 are free. The last 3 are paid. And then there's a couple of interesting posts about those are actually both about the Lizard Renko bars specifically, but Renko bar testing in general doesn't necessarily apply to what we're doing, because we have the Troy's setups Troy's strategies have the calculator attached, and therefore you don't have to depend on what the bar open and closes are for your entries and stops and so forth. Yeah, lots going on this morning. Questions. Not a lot else to look at. Everything is pretty well done this morning except the pound Aussie, and it is just waiting for a new setup. It is in an oversold condition now, or I'm sorry, an overbought condition, so it can't will be ready to take a short. Looks like we should get a set of exhaustion dots on the pound Aussie on this bar. Won't matter whether it closes high or low. Okay, we've got in about 8 minutes, we've got the crude 10 a.m. mini session. All right. Questions, comments? And there's the link in the chat to where I downloaded it from. All right. And 5 minutes away from our crude mini session. All right. All right. There's a possible get in sync trade. It's right at 87.56. Another 2.5 minutes to go. Actually, that's a valid trade, get in sync or not, because it hasn't triggered yet. Testing the EMAs again, it looks like. All right, this is going to be a case where that's the first close below the balance line, even though it was still an up close. Although that is a very bullish bar. Long tail and then coming back to close up. And it's also a bounce off of the 20 SMA and right in between the EMAs. Less than a minute to go.
partially filled. Order filled.
All right, that's a valid crude trade at 87.57. And now we have a short at the stop at 39. That's at the stop, so we don't have any adjustment. All right, so we're going either way. We're in the long. That trade has triggered, so getting in sync, it's going to be stay valid. So far, we do not have any closes above the balance line, so the short is still active.
Order partially filled.
So we are in the short.
Cancel.
Long order will go away. 66 for the stop, 24 and 15 for the targets. So the long would have taken a full stop. That was 18 ticks. So two positions would be down 36. Money management is at 26.
Order filled.
And another second full stop out. So that ends the mini session with 2 full stop outs. That was a quick mini session for a losing session, but that's what they look like. And unfortunately, no long to catch, but heading back up again. Well, let's go back and take a look. Yeah. Here's where we're right back at where we were at 8:45 this morning before that big down move. Heading back up toward the session open at 88.12. And session high at 88.57. Taking a couple of dips this morning, but doesn't seem to be able to sustain those dips. Bouncing hard off of each of them. Oh, you're quite welcome. I set up my stop limit for predefined 0 offset, so that's what I was doing when I got started there. That's about all there is this morning. Any other questions? Since there wasn't anything else to look at, be watching for at that point, that seemed like the right time to do it. And back up to the session open at 88.12. Randy, I don't think, I don't know if I'm not that familiar with what's available on TOS, but I don't know of any custom program bar types for TOS. But you might do some searches to see if there are any Renko bars for TOS, but not that I'm aware of. And it'll be interesting to see what happens support wise with Thinkorswim, being as that's now it's was the original Thinkorswim platform was independent, and of course it was acquired by TD Ameritrade, and now of course TD Ameritrade and Charles Schwab have merged. So TDA has been merged into, or is in the merger has happened, but the integration is still going on. That's a question you might want to ask Troy tomorrow, is because he's a little bit more familiar with Thinkorswim, since he does use Thinkorswim as at least as an execution platform. Not necessarily. He charts off of TradeStation, and it does does executions in TOS. Yeah. Now that's what. Yes, but read the whole thing. It says register for the site, and then it gives you a code to get it for free. I noticed that the price tag initially, but then so you just basically just register for the site and use the code that they get, that, and I believe it's right there in the on the Unirenko bar page. Should give those instructions, or at least it did when I was there, because that's where I got it, and I got it for free. Yeah, I understand. And I have somewhat the same issue with Interactive Brokers, because their margin levels, they don't do nearly as good an intraday margin as many of the other futures brokers that have $500 to $1,000 margins for the E-minis, crude being 1,000, and most of the E-minis, index E-minis, being 500 from many of the brokers. But yeah, TOS and Interactive Brokers are both fairly straightforward on their. They use the CME margin levels for intra and intraday, which are pretty close, not that far different. Now the other brokers still use the intraday same intraday margin levels that CME uses. So if you swing, that's one of the things you have to be aware of when you swing. If you try to swing trade futures, is your intraday margins are much higher than the intraday. So day trading margins don't apply to swing trades. For example, the intraday margin requirement for crude is something like 10,800 or thereabouts. I think intraday on Interactive Brokers, and I think it's right around, it's 11 something or 12 something thousand per contract for intraday margin. And the pound Aussie finally coming up with a new trade. It's a short at 9039. All right. So we got, and the third trade would have been a full loss. So that's on crude. So that's just as well. The trade plan is two full losses. It looks like trade number 4 is successful. But do we have more questions? Because that's about all we got to look at this morning. And one close above the balance line on the pound Aussie. Actually, that is a valid short. Well, that was a successful trade. It is a successful trade, having hit 2 targets, both fairly large. Let's see what. I don't remember what I have the. Yep, okay, I've got it set for 20,000. So 8 contracts on the micro ES for 2% risk on a 20,000 on this trade with a $20,000 account. And stop is at 44.9650. I would have to say somewhat. Now, are you talking about testing with using the UTA, or are you talking about testing with the Trade Assist? NT8's the only. NinjaTrader is the only platform that I've consistently used. I've never had the opportunity to use TradeStation. Since at the time when I started trading futures and Forex, my intention at the time was to to go with. Yeah, I've done some testing with the TA, not a lot. I've been pretty happy with the trade plans that we've come up with that have been presented, and I've done my manual back testing with those and continued on. But yeah, I've done some back testing with the TA. The trade assist can't do everything that manual back testing can do, because there are things that we do that are part of the art of trading that the TA just can't do. And the TAs, if you're using any kind of add-on trades, the TA is not going to deal with that. If you're intending to test for manual trading, the TA is going to take trades that you may or may not be able to actually execute. So, there's limitations on what the TA can really tell you. The best thing to do for a manual trade plan is test it manually. Now, big questions like, if you want to look at what it changed to the cat lines or balance line or that kind of thing, what EMAs to use, targets, and so forth. Yeah, the TA is fine for doing that, but to truly test whether the trade plan is right for you for actual physical trading, your best bet in the long run, at the end of everything else, is a manual back test to verify that what the trade assist is telling you is the same as what you would get with a manual back test. And that's something that you have to look at the charts and actually see, would you have been able to execute? When those trades that come and set up and trigger in within under 5 seconds, unless they pull back to the entry, you're not going to be able to take those. And a lot of times, there are quite a few times that when that does happen, the trades move quickly and can be very profitable. But yes, the TA can be very effective for answering big picture questions. But when it comes down to truly knowing what your trade plan is going to do, the best way to do that is a manual back test. And the manual back test does something else. It gets you used to seeing exactly how the trade plan behaves, actually seeing how and reacting to that, so that once you start doing it live, you're not surprised by what it does, and you don't tend to make emotional reactions to it. Okay, on the sniff test, Shakira, basically all you're looking for is, based on your trade plan, you're looking for winning and losing sessions. If the session wins, hits POQ, you're done. You don't need to test all of the trades within your particular session time. Just based on your trade plan, is your trade plan one and done? You just need to look at one. Is it target 2 and positive, or one target 2 win and positive, 2 break evens and positive? whatever it is, maximum X number of trades, the most you'll ever have to look at is whatever your max trades is. You won't have to look at the full session time unless you don't get the max number of trades in the full session time, or something like that. But yeah, basically all you're doing is testing your trade plan, including POQ rules, to see does the trade plan get you positive most of the time, and you're looking for 75 to 80% winning sessions, not necessarily winning trades. Trade winning percentage is different than session wins. You're looking to see in the sniff test how many sessions win. You want to get to a 75 to 80% session win rate, so that you're positive 75 to 80% of your sessions traded. But yeah, you stop based on your POQ rules, the time limitation of your session, or whatever it is. But you don't always have to go to the time limitation. You don't have to look at all the trades. Just enough trades to tell you, did the session get to POQ, or did it go to max trades, and a loss, whatever. But yeah, you don't have to do all the trades in a session, but you do have to do enough from the session start to get to a determination on, did your trade plan, including POQ rules, get to basically your POQ, how max trades, and what it takes to per power of quitting, as well as your session end time, and all those go into is the session win, loss, or break even. So what you're doing with sniff test is actually operating your trade plan, but you're only doing it far enough to tell you that you're actually in the trade plan. And our pound Aussie trade just triggered in. Money management is in between targets 1 and 2, so if you're trading all 4 positions, two positions will come off at target 2. All right. Any other questions? Because I believe I'm going to bring this one to a close. Because I'm not going to stick around and just watch this last pound Aussie trade. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. What do you have, Shakira? Uh, okay. Shakira, basically, unless it falls within a filter, I don't I don't ignore any setups. If you get a reversing trade, whatever you've determined is your stop and reverse adjustment. Uh, Make that adjustment and then put in, you know, go ahead and put in the reversing order and move your stop to that reversing entry, so that if the price hits that point, then you exit your initial trade and enter the reversing trade. It's not a matter of you ignore a trade just because it's a reversal. Okay? The market reverses all the time, and that can a reversal can cut your loss and put you in a on the right side of the correct side of the market to be profitable often. RNAF, you install the Unirenko zip just like you did the catapult on NT8. Go to, I believe it's Tools, Import, NinjaScript, Add-on, and that's all there is to it. Did that answer your question, Shakira? Now, you're not going to ignore a reversal trade, but you're going to use whatever you have determined is your stop and reverse it, because you want to protect the trade you're in. You don't want, if you don't have to reverse, you don't want to. Okay, yeah. Spotlight is, I won't say Spotlight is more accurate, but it's much more picky. It takes more to get more confirmation to get a Spotlight setup. For I think for day trading, Spotlight is probably going to be more profitable than Counterpunch, CPX2, because yeah, no, that's what you want to do. You know, if if you get a reversal setup, the market may very well be getting ready to reverse, and you don't want to just blindly wait and take your full stop out. If the market's telling, the price action is telling you that should reverse, you want to, make a small adjustment to protect the trade you're in. But then you want to exit the trade you're in and enter the reversing trade at that point. So it's you move your stop to the entry, the adjusted entry, reversing entry, and so both orders are at the same place. But yeah, that's Counterpunch can get caught up in noisy markets, and that because it's going to give you a setup every time the the exhaustion dots indicate, and you get it'll give you all the setups. It doesn't have nearly as much confirmation built in. Spotlight is pickier about the setups, both initial and reversing. So for day trades, it's going to give you fewer but better setups. One of the reasons that Troy likes Counterpunch for swing trades is because it gives you more trades. As he was showing yesterday in the room, he had only like using Spotlight. There were only 6 or 8 trades in a year on the SPY. And that's because Spotlight is pickier, and that's one of the major reasons that Troy tends to like Counterpunch for swing trading better, because it does give you more opportunities. But as I say, the trade-off for that is that you can get caught up in some noise occasionally. It's 5, 10, 25, Dennis. The settings for M2K, and you're talking about for the custom to mimic the TradeStation custom Renko. Yeah, Troy. That was one of the things Troy was showing, that I think especially with the Renko bars, he's finding that, and I'm seeing it too, is the setup very often comes on the third bar. Yeah, for the Unirenko data series setup for NinjaTrader, because Unirenko is specifically NinjaTrader. It's not applicable to TradeStation. That's what I have set up on for the Unirenko bar on the micro. Okay, then just start a new chart, and you'd have the Unirenko for a bar type. You'll get these properties that I've got up on screen now for and you can put in your tick. You're just building the bars essentially with these inputs. The important things are basically the data series inputs: tick trend, open, offset, and tick reversal. A standard Renko bar that is open and close are at the same point would be 15 tick. Renko would be tick trend of 15, open offset 0, and tick reversal 30. This is, as I say, this is mimicking the custom Renko that Troy shows on TradeStation with the 1/3 offset. And that's what all you need to do is you just build it. How many ticks will each bar advance is the tick trend. So in the case of what Troy's doing with the 1.5 point on TradeStation with a 0.5 point offset, is each each bar is going to advance 5 ticks. The open offset then to get that is 10 ticks. That gives you a 15 tick bar. And then to get a 15 tick bar in the opposite direction from the apparent opening is the 10 tick offset plus the 15 tick bar. So that's where the 25 comes from. Yes. They're when you set up your data series and select your bar type, the bar type is where they'll come up when you select your data series. And you got your bar type Unirenko, and that's where you got your various bar types, because it's a bar type. It's not a strategy so much. You're just setting up how the bar is formed. Yeah, I almost never use do chart style, but yeah, that's if you're starting a new chart. Yeah, we're still using candles. All the charts I'm showing are candlestick type charts. And that's all I've seen Troy show pretty much as well is candlestick type charts. Shakira, you were just talking about it. Here's a stop and reverse on pound Aussie. Plots at 46. We'll adjust that to 48. Key levels to 51. So that yellow line is where the stop and reverse entry would be. Actually, and that's since this will be a buy side, we want to account for the spread there on being a forex pair, which right now is running about 3 to 3.5 pips for me. So if you're giving it a 3.5 pip allowance for, because I'm plotting the bid price, and of course you'll execute a buy on the ask price, and that's why you account for spread that way. So you'd actually put your order in at 54.5 for a 3.5 pip. Okay, we've got one close below, and there's a close below the stop, so that cancels the stop and reverse, and didn't trigger the unadjusted. So I would go back to your original stop. I wouldn't pull the stop back in this case because of that swing level. And you might just bring your stop, this swing level back here is at 56.4, 57. Okay, maybe 6. By the time you make adjustments, you're right. And that's what the original stop is off of, is that swing anyway. So you're right back to your stop. You're right, your original stop anyway. That's too close not to adjust it back. Yeah. Like drinking from a fire hose right now. One of the I actually was started off with NT7, and I learned more about the platform in transitioning between 7 and 8 and doing some beta testing for NetPicks as they were transitioning their because the programming is totally different. They actually changed the programming language considerably between NT7 and NT8. So I in that time frame, I learned more about the platform and more about the strategies than I have any other way, because I was doing so much more with both. All right, and the pound Aussie approaching money management on the short side now, and there it is. And target 1 achieved. That was nice of the pound Aussie to do that for me, wasn't it, Shakira? To see it in real time. And you see, in this case, didn't need the adjustment, but how the adjustment works to protect the trade you're in somewhat, but be willing to reverse. And of course, that kept. Sometimes that adjustment will keep you in the trade you're in. So to do something like this it was the original trade was ultimately successful. Now that is Spotlight, that I'm showing, that I've got up on these. I don't have any counterpunch charts on this. Yes, I do. Soybeans is a counterpunch chart. And here's an example on soybeans of the stop and reverse. And this is a case where you actually do end up reversing. You get the short that triggers in here. You have a long setup, so you would adjust that 2 ticks. So that would be 27.75, and it does go through that, and it saves you a couple of ticks because your original stop was at 28.25. But especially if it comes close to money management and then comes back and sets up close to your original entry, it can cut your. Well, that's my trade plans typically have about a 2 to 4 tick stop and reverse adjustment. If I get a stop and reverse, I'll move the entry for the reversal about two ticks. The exception to that for me is something like unleaded gas. That's a $4.10 tick versus the $10 tick on crude. I'll move because it's small tick value, and it tends to move quite a few ticks quite often, and can move fairly rapidly. I actually use a 4 tick entry offset and a 4 tick stop and reverse adjust to bring it closer in line with the dollar values that I'm looking at when I'm working with crude, since it does parallel crude very closely. And you see, and of course, in this case, it saves us a couple of ticks on the original trade, and of course, it costs us a couple of ticks at each target and exit. But that we call it. We refer to it as Troy refers to it as taking out insurance. You pay for the insurance of making that by making that adjustment, and if the price of that insurance is you make a little less profit if it does reverse. If it doesn't reverse and goes back in the original direction, you say that saved you the cost and headache of two, maybe possibly two reversals. And the pound Aussie has gone all the way through to target 4 after surviving that possible stop and reverse. But you notice how it's very up and down in here. And here's the exhausted dots starting right there. So it's a small trade because it's just kind of back and forth. And you really don't want to be in that noise. Now for stocks and options, 2 to 4 ticks is probably not what you want to do. Now, if depends on the price of the stock you're looking at, and Troy alluded to that yesterday as well when he was talking about some possible options trades. Now, when you're dealing with a $400 stock, 2 to 4 pennies is ridiculous as to think about it as an adjustment or even an entry offset. You're probably wanting to. We're looking at 2 to 4 cents on. Crude is at currently a $90 item, and we're looking at 2 to 4 cents, but we're looking at, we're looking at 2-cent offsets for entry and then a 2-cent stop and reverse adjustment. But we're also looking for profit targets of, typically 15, typically from 10 to 30 ticks. So the key is you want to keep your adjustments in the 1 to 5, typically 1 to 3% or something like that. You want to have enough adjustment that it's significant, but you don't want it to be so much that it's not that it's too costly. So yeah, I would look at it. Now we want to make. Normally, we try to make small adjustments on futures of up to 5 ticks, but on some markets, and especially stocks and options, where you're dealing with significantly higher prices, you're dealing with stocks up to what Apple split, so it's not totally out of reason now, but Amazon is up there around, and Google are both up there around $1,000, in the $1,000 range. Apple was up in that range. Netflix, the last time it split, was up around $700. So yeah, you have to think about that based on the price of the whatever you're using. If it's there's a whole that adjustment is completely different for, say, a $10 or $20 stock like USO or something like that, or ETF, $10 or $20 ETF like USO, versus a $300, $500, $700, $1,000 stock. It's a matter of scale. What on a stock, the 2-cent adjustment on the stock in the 20 to 100, in the $10 to $100 range, not unreasonable. You probably need to rethink that when you get up 3, 4, 5, 600, because at that point 2 ticks is not significant. So that's what you want to look at. You want to find a point where, and some of that is go back and do some do your back testing with it. Try some different stop and reverse adjustments and see what works best in your trade plan. Does that help answer that question, or does that make it even less clear? Yeah, exactly. The key there is you want to know before you start using it on live charts, how it performs in your own testing. And this is turning into a very, very nice trade. The trailer on the pound Aussie, the trailer now has exceeded target 4, and granted, it was a small trade. But all 4 target positions have been hit. Of course, in this particular case, target One was up here above the money management level, which is it, and we have a minimum of 12 ticks in the trade plan, or 12 pips for the target, and for money management, or 12 pips for money management. That was, what was that target? 10 pips, and given a 3.5 pip spread, 3 to 3.5 pip spread at the moment, I wouldn't take a 10 tick target before spread. It's going to put you at what, 6.5, 7 ticks or 7 pips after spread. It's not worth it. So I would push the target 1 position to target 2. If you're running all 4 positions, then you take 2 positions off at target 2. If you're running less than 4, I would actually shift all the targets out 1 in that case. But patience. Pound Aussie was doing nothing there most of the morning, and all of a sudden, bang! And actually, we're coming into a and we're into the 11 a.m. crude mini session as well. I don't see anything. We're going to need to pull back into one of the moving averages to get a long trade, and where we can get a short trade off of a reversal here. But so that's kind of where things are right now. I think this trade will most likely get us POQ. Yeah, the targets. Let's see. For me, it's going to be 16, 23, and 30. I'm running three full targets and trailer. So I actually slid my targets out. So 39, 69. It's going to be 100 pip gain at least. So let's see, 4 positions at 7. Yeah, this is going to be a POQ trade. We're already positive on the day with this one. Yes, it does. It requires a lot of patience, but it also requires a lot of focus, because while you may have to be patient for just messy price action, when it starts to move, it can move very quickly. So you've got to be very focused as well as patient. There's another example of stop and reverse. You got in on soybeans, you got into the short where I have the cursor, this short where I have the cursor. And then now you have a stop and reverse again at 15.29 to go long. That would go to 15 or 29.50. And that saves you a 1.5, which is $75 per contract if it does reverse. And actually, you're at target 1, that 1.5. So you've saved 1.5 points. If it goes to that level, you saved a 1.5 on moving the stop, and you've gained a point and a half at the target. And you save that point and a half on, in that case, probably all positions. If you're running 4 positions, that's 6 points. That's what, $300 that you would have saved. You would save on the stop with the stop and reverse, plus another 150 for the target 1 position, or another 75. So it's a $375 difference in a 4 position when you're trading 4 positions in that case. Now, obviously, a 4 position trade is not going to be in the cards for everybody. You have to. Yep. Well, Troy will be in tomorrow. I will not be in Thursday. Thursday will be dark. I'm going to be on the road to Phoenix, leaving tomorrow morning. So I will not be in the room tomorrow, but I will be in the room. I should be in the room Monday, and I will be running the room from Phoenix on Tuesday. And then I'm going to be dark next Thursday as well, because I'm going to be tied up all day Thursday. And probably the following week as well. So we will see. And okay, now that stop and reverse is canceled because we've got 2 closes below the balance line. It's regular trade cancellation rules. But your number of contracts, number of positions is going to be dependent on account size. But as you grow your account, those stop and reverses, especially with multiple positions, becomes much more helpful because if you get something that doesn't go to target 1 or to whatever point your money management is, you've got all the positions still on, so you're saving that on all the positions you have on, not just the one going that direction. So it can be significant as you build your account and build the positions you're trading. Man, that's this one on the pound Aussie is the same case. I'm trading 4 positions there. Granted they're small positions, but the fact that I would have saved, actually I wouldn't have saved anything to speak of. I would have saved 10 pips per position. So that's 40 pips. If it had reversed, because remember our reversal was at 51 and our stop was up at 61. So that's where it can really help us the more positions you've got on, the more helpful that reversal can be. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, we've been at this approaching 2 hours now. Yeah, about an hour and 45 minutes. So I'll ask for final questions. Give everybody a couple of minutes, and we'll call it a morning about 11:15. 11:15 Eastern. Interesting. Crude's going up through session highs now after setting a couple of big session lows. Session lows got down to what, in the 86s? Yeah, 86.55. And we're back up now so we've got a $2 range today. All right, I don't see any new questions. All right. Everyone have a wonderful day. Troy will be in tomorrow. Everybody, good luck with your trading the rest of the week. And I will see everybody next Tuesday. Or actually next Monday, I'll be in the room. Have a good one.